I worked a reversible fabric modularly. You see the orange fabric is reversible. It was worked this way. I left the stitches live. I did not bind them off. I joined in the red yarn, and then I worked back and forth, joining as I went. This is the right side or obverse. My tension is a little uneven, but let me show you what it looks like on the reverse. Look at that. Really nice. So this is a reversible join if you're doing modules, and I wanted to show you how I did that. So let me get the swatch. This technique is based on the right-leaning reversible decrease in Versalace. If you haven't watched my video on how to do that, you might want to go do that now so you're familiar with the technique. I've worked the gray module, and then before I joined in the new module, the white one, I did a couple things to set myself up for success. One of the things I did is I slipped every stitch from one needle tip to the other and gave these stitches the stitch facing I want them to have. I want all my knits to face to the left or west, which if you're an American knitter is what you expect them to be doing, so that's easy. But I wanted all the purl stitches to face to the right or east. So my stitch facings are alternating back and forth all the way down this fabric. The other thing I did has to do with the way I got puckering when I joined one pair to one pair. For this particular project, what worked for me was to join 4 pairs of the new module to 5 pairs of the old module. What I have done to set that up is I counted off, starting on the left, I counted off 3 pairs, and then for the 4th and 5th pairs, I swapped the knit and purl so that both of the purls on the 4th and 5th pair are together and both of the knits on the 4th and 5th pair are together. I will treat them as one unified stitch, and I've pinned them. I counted off 3 more pairs and I swapped again, and so on down the row. If you have lots of pins, you can just pin everybody where you need to. If you only have a couple pins, as I do here, mark the first pair you're going to get to, and then as you work you can move the pins and move them down to the next pair. You will probably want the pins not only to alert you when you get to these, but the maneuver is easier to do if you have the pins. So I have set myself up. I've already joined in the white yarn. I've done a couple of rows, and I've set myself up where I can show you how to do a 1 pair to 1 pair join, and then the next right side row we can do 1 pair to 2 pairs. The first thing I do is I ask myself, do the stitches all have the stitch facings I want? These 3 are good. This one I need to change. So the first thing I'm going to do is slide stitches around and get the stitch facing I want. So that purl is now facing east. The next thing I need to do is I need to swap this knit and this purl. Bring the yarn to the front, and then I swap, doing this so that the purl stitch passes along the back and the knit stitch passes across the front. So I have purls here and knits here, and then I'll slide the knits back over. At this point, all my stitches are on the left needle, ready to be worked. The purls are together, the knits are together, and everybody has the stitch facing I want it to have, so I am good to go. Take my yarn to the back, and since this is right leaning, the joining decrease is knit 2 together, and then the purl version of that is purl up through the back of the loop. And since I'm in 1x1 ribbing, I just keep going in 1x1 ribbing down the rest of the right side or obverse row. In this particular pattern, I am increasing 1 pair at the end of every right side row, so that's what I'm doing here. If you are curious about this maneuver, I have a separate video on how to do that, so you can go look that up if you want to see what I just did. I have turned, I am on the wrong side or reverse, and coming back across, that's going to be knit 1, purl 1. But once again, I can set myself up for success, because when I get to this penultimate stitch, I know in a minute I need this stitch to be facing east instead of west. What I can do is, as I make this knit stitch, instead of wrapping the yarn the usual way, I can wrap it in the other direction. And that will give me an eastern stitch facing. I'll show you if the yarn were in my left hand, that would mean instead of picking it, I'm going sort of up over the top and around like that. It's a little weird. That gives me an eastern stitch facing, and then I'll purl this last stitch and I'll turn the work. So turning the work. Okay, so now I am ready to do this again, but this time I am joining 1 pair to 2 pairs, and these are pinned, so I just treat them as if they are one unified stitch. It looks a lot like what I just did. I start with, are all the stitches facing the direction I want them to face? The answer here is yes, thumbs up, because I already turned this one when I made it, so that was good. Now I need to swap this with these. Yarn to the front and do the swap, and you'll see here why having that pin is so helpful. Makes the swap a lot easier. And then I put the knit stitches over on my left needle, yarn to the back, and now it looks a lot like what I just did before, except now there's more stitches, so it's knit 3 together, so it's knit everybody together. And then the purl stitch is similar. It's purl everybody together up through the back of the loop. And then I would just continue in knit 1, purl 1, ribbing the rest of the way down the row. At this point I could take the pins out and move them along. The right leaning reversible decrease join makes the new module sort of pinch on top of the old module. If you wanted the old module to pinch the new module, so instead of going this way, pinching, you want this way, then you want to work this as a left leaning reversible decrease. And there's just a couple changes. The first change is the stitch facings would be the opposite. So the knits would be facing to the east and the purls would be facing to the west. So that would be the first change. And then when you work the decreases are the opposites. So to make it left leaning, the knit is knit through the back of the loop, but the purl is purling the regular way. So those would be the changes for left leaning. I hope this helps you take your ribbles, Versalace, and other reversible fabrics to the next level. Happy knitting!